a drawing to the major. You know, if anybody who knows my dad knows, if anything, he would give more than anybody asked for or wanted. So he deluged him with scripts and ideas and stuff like that. So you know, the major's impression of what Siegel and Schuster could produce was not limited to art. It was limited to really the ideas, and those ideas, you know, came from my dad's brain. And you know, some of them were not published. Some of them, you know, didn't turn into anything. But there was kind of this constant outpouring, and it's always been, you know, my suspicion then, because the major would, and that's what my dad always called him. He always called him the major. He never called him Nicholson or any of the nicknames that, you know, that other, it, you know, he showed him respect by always referring to him as the major. So he, and I lost my train of thought. He, you know, submitted a lot of different things, and I think that was something that perhaps the major really liked about my dad.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right,
totally
because
agree.
being a creative person himself, and also being very prolific as my dad was, you know, also my dad was prolific with scripts and not just with ideas.
Right.
I think that there was a mutual respect there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so,
I totally agree.
So that's always been my impression. And when it comes to the famous $130, that was actually the page rate that they had agreed to was $10 per page, $5 each for $5 for my dad, $5 for Joe. That original story in Action Comics was a 13-page story, so that's where the $130 came from, and it was payment for 13 pages. It, you know, and so that, which goes along with what you were saying before. It was, okay, you can do this, but never, you know, in my dad's imagination, he actually believed that, you know, that was it.
Right.
And you know, nor that his association with the character would end anytime soon. And in fact, it didn't end anytime soon, because he continued to write for 10 years. And, you know, and developed the character over a long period of time. So I guess those were the thoughts that I had.
I'm so glad you brought up the $130 thing, because that drives me crazy all the time, and that's very clear now. And that's great.
And actually, you know, the check itself, somebody, I guess, dug into some legal files or somewhere in the bowels of, you know, some building, and found the actual check, which was sold on eBay. No, it wasn't on eBay. I think it was
one of the actual
like Metropolitan Comics, where somebody sold it for, what was it?
$100 and something thousand.
Yeah, you know, I mean the check, just the check, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But to clarify, it was not a check for $130. It was payment for, you know, like 4 different things that my dad and Joe had done. It was for, you know, just for that month's worth of stuff, which totaled to $420, because they had produced X number of pages for this magazine and lots of pages for that, and it was for Dr. Ockholz and David Slam Bradley and all kinds of different things. But on one of the lines of the ledger, it says Superman $130, and then it says, you know, like adventure, you know, and another figure. So, it was actually in an odd sort of way, as chilling and as horrible as it was to me to see a picture of that check. It was interesting, and it did provide some additional details that, you know, I mean, because there are ones. And also, and this was, you know, kind of related to something that I said yesterday. Both Jerry Siegel and Joe Schuster's names were misspelled on that check.
The check was actually a jack trick.
Was it?
It really was a jack trick.
people have to realize we've got to go back now. It's the 30s, so it's a check for $400. Now, if you're paid $1 a day, that's over a year's salary if you've worked every single day and then 60 some odd days and 40 days into the next year. So if you're taking an average mean salary today, you're looking at about a $40,000 check that they were handed. Okay, that would have been the equivalent of the $400 check. Now, Jack specifically wrote the check for $400 instead of $130 and then $270, because at $130 you could have said no and just left the check. But at $400, it was so much money in that day to hold, they had to take the check and they had to take it and cash it.
That's interesting.
And so it was part of Jack's strategy in terms of how that was being handled. He could have ledgered, he could have itemized them and written them 4 checks, but he specifically wrote a single check big enough that there was no way to turn it down. You took the check, went, holy crap, thank you very much, cashed it and walked away.
Well, and of course those other items, the other line items that were on there were for work that they had performed. I mean, you know,
Yes.
these were things that had been written and they were in print. And so the only new character that was on there was Superman, lumped in.
That was the whole point. You've already done this, so here's your payment. And if you
And by the way,
don't want the Superman thing, you're not getting the whole paycheck. So that was
That
part
was
of a
interesting,
Leibowitz
yeah.
trick.
Yeah.
Yep, and the check actually has its own life because it became legal tender. What happened was you guys went into suit with the DC, and they had to go into the archives. They pulled the check out. They made it part of the public record, and that changed the status of the actual check, and that's why it's still around, because it became, it was, I can't remember what they called it, but it literally became something other than just, it became.
Yeah, it's in the lawsuits. It's in.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It's an exhibit, and was
yeah.
held.
It's a legally binding contract.
It's illegally, but yeah, and it became over and over and over again, and they actually had to keep pulling it out, putting it back, pulling it out, putting it back. It had its own little safe and its own space, which is why,
So you can't just shred it with the rest of the old check.
no, it's now.
Wow.
You know, time moves too fast.
on a happier note, I
Please
just
do,
wanted to say
yes.
about this photograph, that this was taken at the moment after my dad and Joe had received the word that their names were going to be restored to Superman. And this was in 1975-ish.
Yep.
Actually like 76. It was right before the Superman the movie came out. And that was, you can see on their faces how much that meant to them. And after decades of the sort of void that in every book that was put out for a long period of time, it never said who created Superman. I mean, in histories of comics, if you look back in things that were published a while ago, it just talks about it was published, but it doesn't say who had created it. And so for, the credit to read, created by, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, meant the world to them.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
We have time for one question.